Welcome to the Healthy Heart Show, where we pull back the curtain on conventional medicine and dive into the root causes of cardiovascular health. If you are concerned about high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart attacks, stroke, or atrial fibrillation, this is the place for you. We will provide natural heart information that will help you prevent, treat, and reverse any ailment, leaving pills and procedures out of the picture. Here are your guides to holistic heart health, board-certified cardiologist and Amazon best-selling author, Dr. Jack Wolfson, and natural heart doctor, naturopathic physician, Dr. Lauren Lattanza. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Healthy Heart Show, where we bring you excellent guests with all different opinions and different varieties of how to get you to your 100-year heart. Today we have an excellent guest for you by the name of Elle Russ. Welcome, Elle. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we've got, again, just always looking for different routes of heart health and just a unique sort of perspective about how to get to your 100-year heart. So just a little background about Elle. Elle Russ is the author of the best-selling book, The Paleo Thyroid Solution, which has helped thousands of people around the world reclaim their health. And she is also the author of the self-help book, Confident as F. Elle is a seasoned transformation and empowerment coach, TV film writer, and the host of the Primal Blueprint podcast. And you can learn more about her at elleruss.com. Anything I can add to that, Elle? Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much. No, the only thing is I am starting my own show after a decade with Primal Blueprint and doing over 500 episodes and 20 million downloads. I'm finally going to move on and do my own show called the Elle Russ Show, which will be launched at the beginning of October. I don't know when this will air, but all of the episodes that we've done over the years will always be available at blog.primalblueprint.com. But yeah, it's been really fun and so interesting. I've learned so much from all of the guests and authors that I've interviewed. It's been such a joy. And so I plan on continuing that. So you can always go to elleruss.com to find out more information on the Elle Russ Show that's coming out.
Excellent. I'll look forward to listening. So you've got two different, very vastly different books, which I think equally we can apply in terms of cardiac health and wellness. So I want to kind of first touch on your first book, The Paleo Thyroid Solution. As a naturopathic doctor, I work frequently with thyroid and how omnipresent thyroid disease is. So can you just touch a little bit on what got you interested specifically in thyroid health?
Sure. Well, the best-selling thyroid books are written by patients for a reason, because we know what it's like. And so you can learn what you've learned in medical school, but you just don't know what it's like until you've been through it. And unfortunately, because of what they taught in medical school and because of the outdated protocols and outdated testing, patients have been left to their own devices to solve it. So the reason I became a thyroid expert is because, well, first of all, I live in Los Angeles, the city of probably the best doctors, right? Some of the best doctors in the world. Yet I went to over 24 endocrinologist doctors, could not find anyone to help me. They misdiagnosed me. They didn't take the right tests. And even if they did, they didn't interpret them right. And this is a huge problem. So 99% of the doctors are uninformed on this situation, including naturopathic doctors, some functional medicine doctors. Just because someone goes above and beyond their training doesn't necessarily mean they know what they're doing. And so I actually was left to my own devices to solve my own thyroid problem. I went to so many experts, no one could help me. So here I am without a medical degree, having to be my own doctor. I had to order my own thyroid hormones online, black market stuff, and dose myself back to health. And I did it twice in 10 years. So the first problem I had was just general hypothyroidism. And then I had what's called reverse T3 hypothyroidism, which is on the rise. And more doctors don't know how to test, evaluate, and treat. So let's talk a little bit about how it relates to health. So, the thyroid is the master gland of the human body, not because I say so, because it is. And the reason is like, if you were born without a thyroid gland, which is, 1 in a gajillion, I don't know the statistics, but it's very rare. But if you had a child born without a thyroid and it wasn't caught right away, they're mentally disabled for life. Intellectually disabled, whatever the proper word is, or could die. So if you, let's say, don't have a thyroid gland because, let's say it was removed because of thyroid cancer, you have to give yourself thyroid hormones. And if you don't, so if someone didn't have a thyroid gland, was taking thyroid hormone, ended up on a stranded island, they are the first one to die. So if you cannot live without a thyroid gland, AKA thyroid hormones, what do you think life's like when you're living at a subpar level of it? It is an accelerated aging, and it is just dying slowly. And that's literally what it feels like. So there's over 40 symptoms listed in my book. I had about 30 of them. And I'll just rattle off a few. So one of the main ones that most women will get a gynecological issue, and that could be a diagnosis of polycystic ovarian syndrome. I got misdiagnosed with that. Now, I want to stop there and say, well, what dummy OBGYN would misdiagnose you? Hey, look, if you saw the ultrasound, you would have diagnosed me with it. The problem was, is no one said, why is this healthy 30-year-old who's had normal gynecological health her whole life suddenly bleeding all the time? So that was my first symptom, and that often manifests itself in women in the sense of miscarriages, infertility. So you're going through 3-4 miscarriages and no one's figuring this out. So people have had a lot of unnecessary miscarriages or unnecessary hysterectomies and things like that. So gynecologically, it'll manifest. It's very rare that someone doesn't have a weight problem. If you are one of those people, you got really lucky. So because it's low metabolism, because the thyroid hormones are only kind of really built-in fat burner, you end up getting very fat no matter what your efforts are. Doesn't matter how little you eat, doesn't matter how much you exercise. So you keep gaining weight. And so that usually is the first symptom, aside from you're cold all the time. So I never got above 96 degrees, and I live in California when I was hypothyroid. So even in the afternoon, and you know who you are because you're the person that's always cold. Now, I have cooler hands and feet right now as we're talking. The goal is not hot hands and feet. There's a temperature gauge here. We're all like Goldilocks as humans, but because it's an internal chill. Do you know what I mean? And you're that person, and you're always cold. So that's a symptom. And really brain fog, puffy face, gaining weight, constipation, weird issues with like earwax, brain function. So thyroid hormones we have more receptors in our brain for T3, the biologically active hormone, than anywhere else. So what happens is you end up having messy handwriting. You're tripping all over the place. You're uncoordinated, even though you're an athlete. And you also feel in the brain, and this is the reason I mention this one specifically is because it's a hard one for people to express, which is, yes, you get depressed, not only because of what's happening to your body, but also because it's happening in your brain and in your mind, but also because you start to feel dumb. You start to mix up words like a dyslexic when you never had any cognitive abilities. You can't retain information, paragraphs, you're forgetting numbers. There's people that have quit their jobs of accountants because they're afraid of getting fired because they just don't remember anymore. It's almost like we've all been sort of in a conversation with someone that may have been drinking, and you're kind of like seeing through them. You can't kind of like get in there. That's how it is when you're in a level of brain fog. And to describe brain fog, it is exactly like this. We've all had a horrible cold at some point where our nasal passages were stuffy. In those moments when we've had that, everyone can relate to, you're kind of staring into space. Nothing's fun to watch. Nothing's fun to do. You're kind of just brain dead, staring into space. And you're like, when is this going to end? That is how brain fog is, minus the stuffiness. So, you can get into accidents. You miss things, you start to forget stuff. The other symptoms are you get really overwhelmed because your adrenals will start to take over in the absence of thyroid hormones, and you often will have adrenal fatigue. So that can lead to sensitivity to light, sound, and smells. And then you become the most annoying person no one wants to hang out with because you're like, I can't deal with your perfume, or the neighbor above you right in your apartment is suddenly like, why are they so loud when you never noticed it before? Real sensitivity to light. And what it is it also is like the sense of overwhelm. So you might have been like a high achieving multitasker at some point, but now it's like you feel that even just having to do a couple things in the day just makes you want to cry. You don't have the wherewithal for much, and you're exhausted. It could take you 3 hours to even just get going, to get in the morning to like eat. Some people can't even get out of bed. It's so bad. So it just depends. There's all levels of how severe it is. And the longer it gets untreated, and 60% of the people are undiagnosed, 200 million people in the world, 27 plus million Americans. And again, 60% are undiagnosed. So that number's higher. And it is still only one thyroid hormone prescription is the number one prescription in America, and still is today. So it is a problem. The truth is that it's solvable. The problem is the 99% of doctors are uninformed, and it's really dumb because it's no different than the government food pyramid being a diabetes making diet. And then you go to the doctor for diabetes and like, we'll take this pill and come back and we'll check on it, versus like, actually there's a total thing that can reverse this right now that you could do right now. But they don't advocate that. I have a friend who's a nurse. She works in a hospital in the OBGYN ward. There's people that come in there with diabetes and things like that. And on their way out, they give them a food list that is horrible, that is going to worsen their diabetes. And she, as a keto person, can't say, actually, don't listen to this, right? So this is a problem. And so, it took me all of this investigation, and I'm really glad I did, because I solved my own problem twice in 2 years without the help of a doctor, and I fixed it. But if I'm in Los Angeles and this is happening to me, how's the person in the middle of Nebraska doing? Not probably so well. So it was very sad and very scary to be left in the dust and to my own devices. But like everything, perseverance pays. And I was willing to go to the ends of the earth to figure this out. The only people that actually helped me at all were fellow patients who had a free online forum. And I always mention Janie Bolthorpe. She has the website Stop the Thyroid Madness and a book of the same name. But before she had both of those, she ran a free Yahoo group. She still has a free forum where moderators like me, like patients who had figured this out, are helping other patients for free, evaluate their labs, giving them tips. Now, of course, you have to take everything at face value. They're not doctors. They were the only ones that actually helped me understand this enough for me to go help myself. And then when I ran into the second problem several years later, so basically, 5 to 7 years of my 30s were completely ruined from hypothyroidism. I had a doctor, my first symptom was I kept bleeding, like I got my period when I shouldn't, and then I just kind of tossed it off. Then it kept happening. So what did they do? They did what Western medicine does. Here's a pill to patch the symptom of a thing we're not even going to ask why it happened. And they were testing my thyroid incorrectly. So he kept saying, your thyroid's fine, just work out more and eat less. I'm like, bro, I'm working out 2 hours a day. I'm swimming 36 laps. I'm hiking an hour, and I'm going to the gym, doing everything, which, by the way, was probably a mistake. Okay. Cause I was overexhausting my adrenals, but in our minds, we think, well, you get fat, then there's something I can do about it. So let me go try to do something. That logic makes sense when you have proper metabolism. When you have hypothyroidism, you don't. And so then it doesn't work. And it's crazy making because you have no control over your body. It's so horrifying. I spent years crying multiple times a day, being just so depressed, not just because of what was happening in my brain, but because of what was happening in my life and my body, And so anyway, that's a long rant, but I will just start there.
It's so, because like you hit it right on the head. It's crazy making. And I see so many patients that are so frustrated because they've been bounced around for so many years with, levothyroxine. And that's typically just not the answer. They haven't had adequate testing, and their adrenal hormones are trashed, and then their sex hormones get trashed. So it's just this cascade of events that really has, like you said, the power of the patient is, you have to kind of just ask around, because there's all these diffuse symptoms that can arise. And unless you're a patient, unless you're in that chair, then you might just be, looking in all the wrong places and getting the wrong answers. And you just think that this is your baseline. I'm going to always have to carry a sweater because I'm always cold.
Yep.
My menstrual cycle is completely whacked out. I've got this irregular heartbeat. I've got this brain fog, and I'm just not as sharp as I used to be. And people shouldn't accept that as their normal.
They really shouldn't. And it's hard to express the brain and depression stuff to people because people think you're depressed because of what's happening in your body, but you're like, no, my brain is off. And it is a scary thing to think that you're becoming dumber. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm getting dumb. It's hard for people to express that thing because then they might chalk it up to age, or they might say, well, my Aunt Betty, she was like a recluse and she lived. Well, maybe Aunt Betty had undiagnosed fucking thyroid problems or whatever. It is really interesting that we still live in a world where, again, you have to go. Our insurance here in the United States kind of means nothing. It really is there for you to, in case you fall off a cliff. And yes, then we need someone to put our legs back together. But when it is thyroid, it's amazing how people will just keep going to their local insurance doctor. And then you're like, how much is your life worth to you? No, any amount, it's invaluable. Well, then why aren't you treating it like that? Then this is where you do have to pony up the money for a naturopathic doctor or a functional medicine doctor that is not in bed with the insurance companies so that they can do all the testing they want. Let's talk about the heart. So the reason the thyroid is the master gland is that, first of all, it's in charge of the production and regulation of all of your sex hormones. So what will happen is some 25-year-old guy will have low testosterone. The doctor will just give them testosterone without testing the thyroid. Again, you always go back to the thyroid. It's the number one thing that should be tested with every patient, even if they're not exhibiting thyroid symptoms, because it's the marker of wellness and unwellness in a person. And if that's off, the cascade and the domino effect goes off because of this connection. The other thing too, it's in charge of your heart rate. It's in charge of your heart rate. So when you have hyperthyroidism, overactive, too much thyroid hormone, yeah, you can have a heart attack, right? But if it's also too low, your heart needs T3 to work well. So you often see thyroid patients with like extremely low heart rates, or then sometimes a combination of a higher resting heart rate because their heart's having to work harder in the absence of T3. And so then what happens if someone's mistreated, they're on levothyroxine, which, as you said before, is the first choice for a lot of endocrinologists and the last choice for most doctors in the know, or definitely it's a T4, T3 combo is usually the most optimal. Someone like me, I have to be on T3 only. There's even less doctors that understand that, and they think that's dangerous, and they're just misinformed. I've been living off of T3 only for, 12 years now or something at some point. So and we can get into the thyroid hormones if we want. Maybe we just do a brief thing here, but I will say that when it comes to the thyroid hormones, T4, levothyroxine, or the T4 that your body makes, is useless unless it converts into the thing that matters. Unless it's converting into T3 and you're getting enough of that, it's useless. It's just a storage hormone. It's an elegant feedback loop. We want it to work this way. It is most endocrine mimicry to be on a T4, T3 combination. But sometimes when that is a problem, like with me having a reverse T3 problem that cannot be resolved, my only choice to stay alive and unhypothyroid is me taking T3 only, the direct hormone, which just goes to show you you don't need the other. It's more optimal. There's no question about it. What I take is the last resort choice for any thyroid hormone, for any thyroid patient. But so the heart. So then what happens? So someone's on levothyroxine, they're undertreated, the stuff's not converting, and then they start to get really high cholesterol labs because they don't have enough T3 to burn the fat they're eating. Okay. And so then the doctor's like, oh no, we need to put you on a statin. An overdone thing, as we know. You should never put anyone on a statin unless you've taken a CAD screening test and the score is 0. Like, you don't need to do that. So people are needlessly being put on statins. That's ridiculous. And they're evaluating the lipid panels from like a 1920 perspective. Or then you have high blood pressure. High blood pressure is often insulin resistance. That goes hand in hand when you have no metabolism, no matter how much you eat, because you're not burning the fat, and you will become insulin resistant. And the same goes for people that have eaten themselves into type 2 diabetes, unbeknownst to them. Maybe I'm not blaming anyone, but that's what type 2 diabetes is. We give it to ourselves. And so when they edge towards type 2 diabetes, then they can also then have thyroid problems, right? So in that case, if someone's like, reach the type 2 diabetes, and you don't have to be obese to have type 2 diabetes. I was pre-diabetic myself, and you wouldn't be able to tell. But let's say you've edged towards type 2 diabetes. Yes, we know what you can do with. So then in that case, a dietary paradigm, perhaps like keto or modified, could get you to the insulin sensitive point where then the thyroid's working. And that would be a great move in that situation, if you kind of knew that those thyroid problems came about as a result of that. So again, these things all go hand in hand, and I've seen all of it. And it's really such a tragedy because you can put someone on a statin and the blood pressure medication, but you're never actually addressing the true problem. And it's because doctors are literally taking the wrong thyroid tests. Then they're not evaluating them correctly. Then they're not treating them properly. So even if a doctor takes the correct test, but doesn't know how to evaluate them in order to treat it properly, you're also at a loss. So your second doctor might know no more than the endocrinologist who's steeped in this outdated stuff, but they also might not be where. And so the bottom line is, on anything, if you have a disease you've been diagnosed with as a problem, please do not go to an MD to save you. Go to an MD, go to all of them. Don't count on it. Learn about this yourself. There are millions of people out there in the world right now who take a pill every day that's thyroid hormone, and they have no idea what it's doing to their bodies. They have no idea. So then you get a doctor who doesn't know how to treat a thyroid patient, right? And so let's say you can be on thyroid hormone and still be hypothyroid. So just because you're like taking a thyroid hormone pill and you're going, well, this should have fixed it, it may not be getting to where it needs to go. It may not be metabolizing correctly. It may not be the right dosage, the right timing, the right combination. And then that's very frustrating, because then the doctor, who's the dummy, who doesn't know better, goes, and the patient's like, I'm depressed, I'm still gaining weight. And like, well, it's not your thyroid. right? So, maybe you just need to do this, or maybe we should give you Prozac for your depression. Well, the Prozac will work for a couple months and then it won't work because you never got to the root of it. So anyone in the psychiatric profession should never, ever give anyone, antidepressant medication unless they have already ruled out the thyroid, because if you correct the thyroid, you will correct the depression most likely. But that's the baseline of where you need to go. So everybody, like my doctor and the doctor on my book, Dr. Forsman, he tests everyone that comes into his office for reverse T3 and all these other things doctors don't, even if they don't even have a thyroid problem, because he knows how important thyroid health is to the whole picture. And if that is not optimized, you know what I mean? You're screwed. And so then someone will be like, I have a hormonal imbalance, right? Like I did. I had polycystic ovarian syndrome there for a second. No one said why. They were just ready to put me on metformin and treat the problem and patchwork it. So then you end up like a quilt. You're all patchworked up and you never got to the root of it. And that sounds cliche, but the root is the case. And the thyroid, there's no more bigger root in our body. And to exemplify that, I would say, T3, that's why people gain weight, because T3 is the fat burner. So bodybuilders, they pull some really dumb moves. And when they need to lose fat as quickly as possible before a competition, they will take a ton of what I take every day to live. Now, they could screw themselves up. They could screw their hearts up. It's a dumb move, but it says a lot about T3, doesn't it? So if you're not getting the package, right, then it doesn't matter how much T4 you're taking or how much thyroid hormone you're taking. Are you getting what you need to survive? And then there's also doctors who are afraid of the reference range, right? They're like, oh, it's too high. It's not. It's not. So it's really about, and I just want to say this is completely solvable. If you have been like, I've been trying to solve my thyroid problem for 10 years, then you've just been with doctors. That's clearly the case. And you haven't educated yourself enough. Get on it. This is fixable. It's fixable. The longest, more treacherous case I've ever seen of solving a thyroid problem that's maybe taken a year is when someone has Lyme disease and they're going through menopause and they have SIBO. Okay. Yeah. All right. That stuff may take some time. There's a lot of components there, but in general, you can fix this in 3 months. This is very fixable. So the people out there that, and again, that's the doctor they go to and they're like, hey, I'm depressed. And the doctor's like, well, we'll put you on some Prozac. That's a doctor who doesn't understand that when you treat a patient properly with thyroid hormones, the elimination of the symptoms they're all gone. That's the whole goal. You don't have any more hypothyroid symptoms. I have 0 hypothyroid symptoms because I am on the right level of thyroid hormone replacement. It makes me and my body just like yours, just as normal. I'm going to eat too much junk. I'm going to get fat. Right? It's normal metabolism. So there are these people out there, horrific. Actually, Oprah Winfrey's a good example. She was interviewed many years ago and I was like, oh God, how do I get a hold of her? Because she said her doctors were like, well, you have Hashimoto's, so you're always going to struggle with weight. What a story to implant in her. We've all seen her weight struggles. And some people would go, but she's a billionaire. She has access to the best what? Endocrinologists, the best doctors that are steeped in ego, that are outdated. Just because someone is wealthy and a billionaire does not mean they actually have access to the people that know what's up. She's listening to the wrong people. And those doctors are doctors that don't understand how to treat it, because no one would ever say that if they knew what I knew and knew what other doctors and people like you knew, which is, oh no, then something is wrong, because you should have full elimination of every hypothyroid symptom when you are treated properly. And it doesn't really take that long. Again, with the caveats of what I just told you.
Of course, yeah. And you, like you said, in a couple of months, even if it is multiple layers on your current health picture, you don't have to become a pharmaceutical cascade.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be Prozac and statins and all the things just because of one root cause. So you said it, find yourself a holistic healthcare provider that's in the know. Get on some Facebook forums. The power of the patient is real. So listen to the people that have been through it, people like you that share their story and share their struggles. And, you're not on the first line treatment. You're probably on, God, who knows how many lines of treatment you've been through to figure out what works for you, but they're out there.
Yeah. And I do offer a free thyroid guide on my website, elleruss.com, which lists the 6 main and some peripheral tests. Like, do I have a thyroid problem? Because you can go down the road. There's lots of things that cause it. Look, you could be living in a place with black mold and get a thyroid problem. You could have high mercury and that could cause it. There are a million ways to discover why, how, what, when, where. But I give you, at least, you don't have to buy my book. You can just go to the free thyroid guide and go, these are at least the tests I need to get, what time of day I need to get them. What kind of questions can I ask a doctor's office to kind of see, do they maybe know what's up? Or am I going to be wasting my copay with this one? Even if they do answer the right questions, I can't guarantee that it's still going to work. But at least I went to so many doctors. I wasted so much money on ignorant people that just never helped me. And I shouldn't have had to help myself, but thank God I did, because I want to help everyone get from A to Z way quicker. And I only suffered for the years I told you. There's people that have suffered for 20 years.
Yeah. And you know what? The power is really in the struggle. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing these free resources. And I would absolutely encourage all of our listeners, even if you haven't been diagnosed with a thyroid disease and you've got some symptoms that just aren't right for you, don't accept those. Don't accept those as your normal. So Go download this free guide, get some questions answered, and then, take it one step at a time and seek out alternate opinions. Get on some forums. I think that creating educated healthcare consumers is so powerful. And, it's more than, our US healthcare system, because it's sick care. We all know that they're not providing adequate information. They're not providing adequate diagnoses and, answers to these problems. So thank you for providing that for us. The Healthy Heart Show will be right back after we take this quick break to hear from our sponsor. Would you like to drink great tasting coffee that's also good for your heart health? Cardiology Coffee is your answer. This 5-star rated coffee is delicious. It's a gourmet coffee that begins with whole organic beans, hand-selected and carefully roasted. It's tested and certified to be free of pesticides, mold, and other toxins. Cardiology Coffee is great for your heart, and you're going to love how it tastes. Order now online at cardiologycoffee.com. Now back to the Healthy Heart Show. So now I want to talk about your second book, which I have absolutely enjoyed reading. And I think that it really is we can absolutely tie it into this thyroid picture. So, maybe I've seen my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, and this is their struggle. They've had this Hashimoto struggle, and I'm taking that on as my story now. So I really think that kind of ties into your Confident as F book, and taking on some of these stories and not allowing yourself to really live your own story. So what does Confident as F mean to you, and what inspired you to write about confidence?
So confidence is not an anchored quality within people. It's really the sum of the thoughts you think and the actions you take. So it's really, everyone can achieve it through some work. Confident as F is, to me, all encompassing. I was extremely confident for most of my life, but I had one area over here. And if you think there's one area where you can shovel that under the rug where I wasn't confident, it kind of affects everything else. And so Confident as F is meant to be all encompassing, inside and out. That doesn't mean you have to become some public speaker or some extrovert. Some of the most confident people are the quietest people in the room. Okay. So that's not what I'm suggesting. But what I am suggesting is that if you don't have confidence and self-esteem, you'll never get what you want in life, from the bedroom to the boardroom. You're never going to be able to stand up for your kids against their friend's mother who's a jerk or whatever. It doesn't matter. You could be a stay-at-home mom. And yes, if you want to be a public speaker, okay, well, then you're going to need the outward confidence. But it's really more important to have that inner outer combination. It's like the most ideal. And the truth is, I wrote a book called The Paleo Thyroid Solution, obviously based in some ancestral health. And having confidence provides an evolutionary edge. It helps us navigate challenges. Life was harsh back then. They didn't have the luxury to wallow in self-pity. If they didn't catch the beast or the water well was tainted, they moved on. We have this modern day luxury of wallowing in this stuff, blaming our past, sitting around like our mind has almost too much going on, right? And it's not to say that we want to adopt some of the stuff that they had going on. They certainly didn't have human rights and some other things, in their day. But we had this luxury of wallowing in despair, self-pity, self-judgment, all of the stuff. And the confidence stuff, I go through the book, I talk in story form, give real life examples that you can sink your teeth into, because I didn't want to write a self-help book that was just like a list of things and acronyms, which have their place. But I wanted people to read a story and go, yeah, I've been there. Okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I also learn and feel like I get concepts. I have a degree in philosophy, and that was one of the things that bothered me, is that, again, you're studying all this heady stuff and you're like, how do I apply it to my life? So I wanted to create that for everyone. And that's really what it is. It's inside and out. And, there's an interesting quote by a guy named Andre Dubus, and it's going to sound harsh, but I really think it's interesting. It really hit me, which is, Shyness has a strange element of narcissism, the belief that how we look, how we perform is truly important to other people. The truth is most people don't care about you. You're just projecting what you think they might think of you, and then you are allowing it to creep in your self-esteem. So, let's say you had a parent who was abusive or told you you were going to be nothing, or yes, those are valid, awful subconscious imprintings. But at the end of the day, if you continue that on, you're letting them win. You are letting their story of you, their wrong or untruthful or malintent perceived story of you, to allow you to feel that way about yourself when it's not true, and you can change it. So we definitely have to get out of victim mode. And the best way to do that is confidence. Confidence also helps you draw boundaries with people. I'm a very clear communicator. My friends know I don't BS people. I'm known for that, like all over the place. People come to me because they're like, I know you're going to tell me the truth. Now, does that mean that I don't edit myself? No, of course I do. If I'm going to your mom's house for Thanksgiving and she asks me what I think of her sweater and I think it's ugly, I'm not going to tell her the truth. I'm going to lie. There's places for white lies. I'm not saying being confident as F is about choosing your battles wisely, right? So, you don't take every battle. And that's also what ultra confident people have a pitfall in. And the people that are more beta or less confident, they have some good qualities too. Like they are more diplomatic when they do speak up. They are more likely to receive and accept help. They are more vulnerable and open versus confident people not wanting to show vulnerability. So the reason I wrote it is because throughout my life, everyone's been coming to me for like, I need this comeback for this bully, or, I need to go ask for a raise, or I need to break up with this person. And they have come to me for those things. And so I just realized over time, I was like, this is something I'm really known for that always comes up. People are always like, God, I wish I could be as confident as you. But the truth is like, you're not going to be able to declare a boundary, which is, and do these things in life with people. And you're going to end up resenting them. People pleasers are a perfect example of this. So if you're out there and people are like, oh, you know what, poor Jenny, she's like, the problem is she's just too nice. No, the problem is Jenny's a liar. Jenny goes around saying things she doesn't believe in or agreeing to things she doesn't want to do because she's afraid of rejection or wanting other people to like her. That's being a liar. And it gets you nowhere but passive aggressive behavior, covert contracts, and all sorts of messy stuff with people. And then you don't end up trusting people. So authenticity reigns supreme, and confident as F people are usually the most authentic. And that's why we look up to them. That is why, because we trust confident people's confidence in themselves. I used to be an employer many years ago. I would rather hire a confident person than someone skilled in the job if there was a difference in personality, because there is something about confidence, again, that we trust. They're often proactive, they're on time, they're on top of it kind of thing. We know they might go above and beyond and have creative ideas to contribute. And so it really, also if you go in for a job and they're like, what are you thinking for salary? And you're like, I don't know, I was thinking somewhere between like 60 and 80. Oh, you just lost. It's always the people that come in are like, I can't make less than 80. Then they get the 80. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Absolutely. I love reading through it, and you can really just identify with, oh, I know that guy. And, as somebody that was bullied growing up, and I can really identify with so many of these stories. And even if it's just taking on somebody else's negative self-narrative that you apply to yourself, and it has no room in your life. So just I really how to navigate around that negative self-talk. And I just love it. So you had identified some of the qualities of confident people. You mentioned authenticity. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
One of the things people misunderstand is just because you have some barrel over extroverted that you work with, that is not confidence either. Okay. That's just a bully who's misusing their confidence. All right. So the people that are braggarts, or the people that you don't like because they're jerks, because they're outspoken, that's just a bully. Okay. Because confident people encourage others' success. They do not compete. They do not compare. So they're nice, friendly. They're like me. They're helpful. They want to connect people. They don't care whether, my friend becomes friends with you. I'm not jealous. Enjoy yourself. I hope you guys have a great friendship. There's no competing or jealousy going on there. So if you've got one of these people that's like either the big braggart show guy, the loudest guy in the room, that's insecurity, really. And if you have someone that's mean and you think they're confident because they're outspoken, then you've misgauged confidence. So I want to clear that up. Confident people, yes, they're authentic. They don't need to prove themselves to anyone. They speak the truth as they see it, right? They tell it like it is. And they don't really care about much about what other people think of them. Now, someone might go, well, of course, Elle, don't you care about your reputation as a podcaster, an author, a coach, whatever? Yes, of course. Yes, of course. But if no one bought my book, I wouldn't give because I'm proud of myself for writing it and it's wonderful. I'm glad people have. I'm glad it's affected everybody, but it would not be a ding on my personal self-esteem. And they're kind and encouraging to others. They're constantly learning. They're not easily offended. They're often the leaders. Leaders are confident and they're usually decisive. But there's so many. I would say also too, they approach challenging situations as something to be conquered and mastered, not as hazards to be feared or avoided. And no, they're comfortable with their failures and mistakes. They own them. It's not that it doesn't feel yucky in that minute when you failed at something that you've tried for, but they get over it quicker. We also speak with authority. Anyone listening to me right now can be like, yep, check, right? And that's not false authority. So con men, right? Con men misuse confidence to trick people, right? Of course, we want to stay away from these people. Is that truly confidence? No, not really. It always backfires. They usually get caught, or they're living in this world where they can't trust anyone because they're a liar and they have that's just a gross thing anyway. But they are misusing confidence men, con men, right? They instill confidence in you in order to rip you off. So that's like a full negative side of someone misusing confidence. But confident people feel free and unbound to be themselves. They trust their own judgment, and they're proud of their character and integrity. They're not the braggart. The braggart's the insecure person. But again, they're proud of their character and integrity and who they are in this world. And one example is someone asked me once, and I put it in the book. They said, I was thinking about you because I walk into like a party or a restaurant or something, and I'm feeling like everyone's judging me. Everyone's looking at me. I feel so self-conscious. I'm just like, And she goes, I was thinking about you. And I thought, God, I bet Elle doesn't feel that way. And I said, I walk into every room like I own the mother effer. Now, that sounds cocky, but let me just explain that. When I walk into a room or a party, I don't care if anyone knows I'm an author or anyone's impressed by what I do. I don't feel the need to prove myself to anyone. Maybe I don't even talk to anyone. I'm just comfortable there in my own skin, observing. Maybe I'm standing in the corner of the room and I never talk to anyone. I could be alone in a room or anywhere else and feel totally fine. And I want everyone to feel that because it is an amazing way to go throughout the world. Again, it's all about you. And then there's a curiosity there, like maybe I'll learn something from someone. I remember I had a conversation with someone at a party for a very long time, and I was just really asking them questions about themselves. And then when they found out what I did and what I do, they were like, oh my God, you didn't even say anything the whole time about, like, they were shocked, maybe because I live in Los Angeles and everyone's trying to prove something. Maybe there's a different, essence here. But I was like, why would I? Why do I care? I don't care. I don't care. And you shouldn't either. But you have to get to that point. Now, again, we love our friends. We want to, but even if one of my best friends went nuts tomorrow and called me the C word and was like, I never want to be friends with you again. Oh my God, it would hurt. Yeah, it would hurt more than a stranger, of course. And I would be upset and cry and all of that. But at the end of the day, I would go, well, then that's not the right person for me. And I'm not going to let that be reflective of my character unless there's something I actually really truly need to look at there. But let's just say they went nuts. Okay, fine. So I feel like you can move swiftly and peacefully towards success with courage, enthusiasm, and clarity when you gain more confidence and self-esteem. And I've already seen this because I teach a confidence course. The women that were in there have already done it. And it's anything down from, you've been going to the same hairdresser forever, but you asked her to cut it a certain way and she didn't. And you feel weird about saying something. And people might go, that's so dumb. That's the little stuff. It all matters. It all matters. Why wouldn't you speak up? Because those people, again, are afraid, like, well, I don't want to. Well, there's also a way to approach things with tone. You don't need to go in and say, hey, I asked you last time to cut my hair this way and you didn't. Like, can you do it this time? That would be kind of right. Of course, no one, but you could come in and go, hey, I just had an idea. I want to switch it up. Can you do this today? I really want to focus on that. I know last time you did it this way. There's ways to approach these things, but people sometimes can't even draw boundaries or get what they want. So then you keep getting the haircut you hate. And oh my God, people would go, what a dumb, simple thing. It's from that to speaking up to a raise, to getting out of a relationship. All of these things matter. You are, what I've learned through thyroid and my journey is you're it for you. Nobody cares more about you than you. Nobody, no doctor, no friend. My mother loves me like nobody's business. I am the light of my mother's life, but still, I am the only one that cares more about me. And you're it for you. Byron Katie, who's a great spiritual teacher, she used to say, like, you're it for you. You've never had a thought that isn't about you. And someone might say, well, that's not true. My friend Susie was in the hospital and I thought I went down there and brought her soup because that made you feel good. It's still, the thought's still about you. You cannot get out of it. It's not that we don't do nice things for people, but it's because it makes you feel good about doing them. So it's time to get selfish in the best possible way. And I've just seen to me, more people need confidence and self-esteem than I ever imagined. I never imagined that my qualities that I have in this area were going to be valuable to others. But I see over time how valuable it is because people want more of it because they get what they want quicker. They avoid negative situations. I remember I had a friend one time who would say yes to plans with people, but then always cancel at the last minute. When he agreed to the plans, he never intended on going, but he felt too bad to say no. And then I pointed out, I said, well, now you just look like a flake. You just look like a flaky person that you're the one that cancels all the time, and this is small stuff, right? Like just being able to say no to plans. But people feel guilt or obligation, or they're afraid of saying no. I will tell you right now that I love my life. I have barely zero conflicts with any of my close friends and family members because I am a direct communicator, and I appreciate and prefer friends and people close to me to be direct communicators. I do not like passive aggressive behavior because again, it's lying. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And so I know that's harsh to think of yourself out there as a liar if you're a people pleaser, but you are because you're not getting what you want. And then you end up resenting people for what you could have prevented. And the way to prevent that in the future is staking your ground, drawing boundaries. You need confidence and self-esteem for that.
Yeah. You don't have to be the yes man. Any adult can say no to a plan. You want to lay in bed all day on a Sunday and turn down those brunch plans, just go ahead and do it. I think it's healthy. Yeah. And you had mentioned kind of like,
and by the way, doesn't mean you don't want to ever do anything you don't want to do. So for example, my friends, I'm not a big live concerts person. It's very hard to get me to go to some live concert. Not that I don't appreciate it. It's not my thing. I have a friend who goes to a million concerts every week. And she knows she's asked me enough over time to know that I'm just probably going to say no, but she called me one time and goes, look, I know this isn't your thing, but so-and-so is going to be at this concert and I kind of need a wing woman. I'm in, right? I'm in now because now the overriding thing of being her friend and doing that favor for her overrides my desire for the So, or if she called me to get her car towed out of a thing, no one wants to go drive and do that, but you want to do it because it's your friend. So it's not about never doing things you quote don't want to do. No one wants to do the thing I just mentioned about helping someone get their car towed, but you do because you want to be a good friend. Mm-hmm. So this isn't about being some a-hole who says no to everything and never does anything, of course, right? So hopefully people understand that. Right.
Yeah, you're not above things. You can draw some boundaries.
Yes.
And you had talked about, all of these things that can accumulate. And I always say the issues lie in the tissues. So if you're constantly taking something on and just suppressing it and being told no and accepting that and not, leading with confidence and creating your own narrative, then I find that people really do, the issues reside in the tissues and it will come up in some symptom or another.
And thyroid's one of them. So Louise Hay, many years ago, had some connections spiritually to noticing a trend in people with breast cancer or people with thyroid problems. And what she attributed to the thyroid problems was either the inability to speak up or suppressing one's creativity. Now, I've always been a spoken up person, but I mentioned earlier that I had one area of my life where I wasn't confident in, and that was with romantic relationships because it started with, I have a permanent hand disability that I talk about in the book, and I was very ashamed for years. So I never told people that I dated. It's something you can't see. I was embarrassed about it. So I kind of hid this thing. And so when I look back after I read this many years later, at the time I got the thyroid problems, I was dating someone who was kind of a moody, walk around on eggshells person, which by the way, I hate. I don't have any friends that are moody. I would never tolerate that, but I was tolerating it at the time. So I felt choked up in the throat. If you keep getting that choked up feeling, which is again, the inability to speak up or feeling suppressed with your voice. Now, I can't say that that's exactly the reason why I got the thyroid problem, but it's just interesting that the correlation was right there. So like you said, issues in the tissues, this throat chakra, this neck, inability to speak up or feeling choked up, or like you've got that lump in your throat all the time. Maybe you're in an abusive relationship and you're on edge, all that kind of stuff. Again, like you said, will eventually transform into something that will hurt you physically.
Absolutely. And then that's your symptom is your body crying out for help because it's saying enough already. So
Yes.
let's address this. It's time. Okay. So I've got a question for you. How do you live a heart healthy life?
Well, I exercise often. So, because of the pandemic and my non-interest in being in a gym right now, I got my own weights at home, right? I do walk and hike, but I swim regularly too. So that's kind of my primary cardio. I've been a swimmer for many years. It helps my arm situation. I'm going to go swimming today. So I swim laps. Now I'm swimming in chlorine, which is totally antagonistic to thyroid. I do take iodine when I go swimming and take it throughout the week if I'm swimming a lot. I also will cover my entire body in coconut oil first, which gives me about 30 minutes in the pool. So I try to do my best to protect it. That's the only yucky, unhealthy thing about swimming. Luckily, this pool I swim in is not heavily chlorinated, but so that's an issue. So I definitely exercise. And of course, I eat a paleo primal paradigm. I don't have Hashimoto's form of hypothyroidism, meaning I don't have the autoimmune form. So yes, if I wanted to eat a piece of gluten or something, I could without ramifications. I would probably do those kind of cheats or exceptions less if I had Hashimoto's. But yeah, do I occasionally have a piece of bread? Absolutely. I live my life, but I don't have it around. It's not a consistent, regular part of my life like it once was. So I definitely don't eat grains, beans, legumes. Does that mean I'm not going to have a burrito one time with some beans and rice? No, I will. But again, it's just not a part of my regular life where it would have been before. So I definitely follow an ancestral paradigm. I also naturally am an intermittent faster. I do not like breakfast. So I do some of that. And I definitely am a big fan of I get all of my meat from Rep Provisions, which is all grass-fed, pasture-raised animals and things like that. So I do my best. And us peeps in the paleo community are, of course, for regenerative agriculture. So I do care about the quality of my meat. But yeah, if I'm at a restaurant, they don't have a grass-fed steak, I'm going to eat the regular steak. Mm-hmm. So a paleo primal paradigm is really the best. But I've also have a commitment to exercise. Mm-hmm. And for everyone out there, just walking at like 3.0 on a treadmill for 30 minutes is sometimes enough, guys. If you can't even walk to your mailbox, you can still lose weight by getting fat adapted through diet. Let's say you don't have the stamina, but can you stand for half a TV show? That's better than sitting, right? So there are ways to mitigate it if you have injuries or issues. But yeah, so I think a dedication, and I'm very lucky. I live in California. We can be outside year round. Yeah. I can sit outside year round. I can hike year round. I can play outside year round. I think it is a lot harder. I am from downtown Chicago. It's a lot harder to get out when it's 20 below, bundle up, go to the gym, unbundle up, do the whole thing. Yeah, it takes a lot of extra effort, guys. And so, but it is an attention to it. You just have to make that commitment. These are micro commitments. Look, there's times where I have my pool stuff ready to go, my bathing suit on, and I'm fighting it the whole way. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And not because I'm exhausted, because I wouldn't if I were exhausted. I would know better and go, don't tap your adrenals. You just don't exercise today. But sometimes it's just laziness, right? Or whatever. You're not in the mood. And I fought it all the way up to the pool's edge. Like I've even driven there and figured I'm just going to turn around. Like sometimes it takes, and I was talking to Gabrielle Reese, the famous volleyball player years ago on an interview. She's a badass. She said the same thing. She goes, sometimes I got to fight myself every day for weeks to go work out, even some of the top athletes, but it is a commitment that I make. And I will say this, every time I laugh at myself afterwards because it feels so good that I'm like, thank God I did it. Thank God I didn't bail today.
Rarely read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had mentioned some intermittent fasting and that you just don't like breakfast. So is that something that came along because maybe your thyroid responded better to that? Or is that something you just listened to your body? And this is,
I mostly listen to my body, but I also, I believe in the benefits of it. But here's what I want to say about that. It's a bummer for me that people are too attached to some description of themselves. Like I'm a person that intermittent fasts, because I will tell you this, there's been times when some peacock was honking outside my window at 4 a.m. I woke up and then I'm hungry by 10 a.m., which I normally am not. Now, in those moments, I do get a little bummed because I'm like, damn, I don't want to eat right now, but I do it anyway because I follow my body because my body's hungry and it says, eat a sausage, eat a sausage. I don't go, nope, I'm a person that intermittent fasts. So on the topic of metabolic flexibility and flexibility in general, you know what? Sometimes you need the apple. Okay. Just eat the apple, right? I mean, I eat carbs, of course. I'm not keto, but I go in and out of keto. There might be a day where I eat only meat. There might be a day where I eat only vegetables. But I also feel too, people think that they need to pack the rainbow of the vegetable garden into every meal. And I would like people to look at it more of like, how was your week? How was your week? Did you have chard one day, celery the next? That's good enough, right? That's more ancestral anyway. So I think people end up wasting a lot of food. I know I was one of these people. I was trying to get like every color in every meal. And oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? That's not very ancestral either. It wastes a lot of food. It becomes annoying. I like to look at it like, how's my week? How's my month? How did I do here? So if I am hungry in the hours I normally don't eat. Now, what I will do though is, for example, I won't eat before I go swimming, but I will bring a bottle of water with me with some collagen in it, maybe some green powder, a little something. Maybe I'll even have a few spirulina pills or something. Like I might do a little something. And again, if I don't feel like eating, I still might have a little bite of some leftover salmon or something. Again, I really go by if I'm hungry or not. I don't push it. And I think, again, people have an identification to some paradigm and then they're like, nope, I don't do this. And you're like, your body's craving for the apple, eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's fine that you only have meat today. That's okay. Right. That's okay.
Yeah. We don't need to draw these hard boundaries of, yes, I am primal paleo and same, like you said, sometimes I'm just going to sit down at a steakhouse and if they don't have a grass-fed steak on the menu, guess what? I'm still going to eat. Mm-hmm. And I think everything in moderation, including moderation. So people need to just accept that and listen to their bodies and recognize what's healthy for them at any given moment.
I also, even though they might say there's benefits to the heart or whatever, I'm kind of an anti-alcohol person. Mm-hmm. It's not that every once in a while I won't have a sip of something, but it doesn't work with me. And I also feel like that has contributed to me aging really well and staying really healthy and having my mind sharp. At my age, I have noticed that people who have been drinking all this time, oh man, by the time they get to my age, they're a disaster. They look terrible. They're bloated. Their minds, it's such a depressant. So I am not a big drinker. Now, on the other note, and I live in a state where it's legal, I love marijuana. I don't smoke it. Obviously, it's an unhealthy thing to do. But now that it's all legal, there are various ways. So it's not like I don't have any kind of fun or vice or a thing like that, because most of the world drinks. I think drinking is a terrible impediment to weight loss and health. I just do. And if you're able to manage it while drinking, hey, keep your vice. You know what I mean? Do what you got to do. But that is one thing that I don't have as part of my life. And I feel it's helped my skin, my body, my brain, and everything else. Even though there are studies that would say 2 glasses for men a night and 1 glass that could be heart healthy and be good. In my experience, that hasn't bared out to be great for me. And so I go by how I feel. I don't like the way that it feels. Mm-hmm. And it just makes me tired for 3 days. I feel a little bit like ADD, like less attentive, less interested in life. So again, I just go by how it affects me. What I've seen over the years is that people then who get into their 40s who are drinkers all of a sudden go, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't take this anymore. It's catching up with me. Thank God there's that alternative. And again, I don't wake up in the morning and pop an edible, but that's sort of my choice. And alcohol has always been sort of one thing I think has been very helpful to avoid for me.
Yeah. Thanks for touching on it. I think that's a really important piece of the picture that so many want to avoid because it is so commonplace in daily life. It's family, it's friends, it's socializing. But it really is just so pro-inflammatory. So yes, it accelerates aging. Me personally, I just have an outright panic attack the following day. So I've had to cut that from my life. And it's not to say, like you said, there are alternative vices, there are plant medicines, and maybe you just feel better without having, an actual vice. You don't have to pick your poison. And there's a reason they deem it as such.
Yeah, I do feel it's very inflammatory too. And as you know, and it just does not work well with the brain. And again, certain people are just have these kind of reactions to it. I'm grateful for not liking it. I don't have to struggle to prevent drinking alcohol. Like, it is never a thing you know what I mean? Like, oh, I really want to, but I can't. I never want to. And so I'm so grateful for that because I do feel like it's a mess maker of the body. And
Yeah. I have, on the other hand, had to talk myself out of liking wine. So I've had to do that self-talk. And I'm like, you know what? It's just not worth it. And that's what I often tell patients that really struggle with this burden of inflammation. So it's often weight or whatever that might be, painful joints, skin rash. There's so many
gut health with alcohol.
Oh, absolutely. It just rips your gut apart. And so I don't take my word for it. Give it a shot and see if things improve. And they, 90% of the time they do. by eliminating gluten, some of the just overall arching inflammatory things that are so commonplace in today's world and today's diet. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Elle. This has been absolutely enlightening. And thank you again for sharing these free resources. And everybody, I would encourage you to go out and read her books, so much great information. So tell our listeners where we can find more about you and your upcoming podcast.
Sure. So you can go to elleruss.com. And if you click on the free stuff, there are two things. There's a free thyroid guide, which gives you all the tests to get and kind of, essence of how to maybe find the right person like you as a doctor to help them. And then also I have a free audiobook of guided meditations and affirmations. There's a great healing guided meditation in there and these are all recorded by me. I found that when I was struggling with hypothyroidism, especially the second round, I had already learned about mindset tools. And one of the things that saved me was listening to guided meditations on health and healing. And it's imprinting into the subconscious because we often, when we're going through a health thing, and I know you know this, you're blaming your body. Why am I broken? You're looking in the mirror going, you're so fat, or you're whatever the thing is. And you start to treat your body like it's the enemy. And so it's a free audiobook that you can download on iTunes, and you can just click on it there and download it. Has got 2 guided meditations and 2 affirmations. The guided meditations are on abundance and money, and then one is on health and healing. And then the affirmations are on confidence and then also abundance. So that is free. And I wanted to, and of course, there's tons of free ones on YouTube from a million other people, but I designed them specifically based on what had helped me through these times. And I really am glad I had that, because sometimes you need to be guided through, and they're like 20 minutes, they're not really long. So if you're struggling with a health issue or a confidence issue, or you're feeling yucks about money, it's a great free audiobook.
I really appreciate that. I talk about that so often with patients, that you're not just a collection of organs. You're not just a heart that's not functioning properly. The self-talk that you give yourself, you need to create time and space for meditation and self-talk and confidence. So I will absolutely be directing patients towards your resources. And I really, again, appreciate your time, appreciate this conversation. And I think that everybody can gain so much from your materials. So thank you again, Elle Russ, everybody. Check her out. And thank you for listening to another episode of the Healthy Heart Show. I am Dr. Lauren Lattanza, and we will catch you next time. That does it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Healthy Heart Show. Please help us get the word out by liking and subscribing to our podcast and our Facebook page, Natural Heart Doctor. Please show support for our podcast sponsor, Cardiology Coffee, your resource for organic, antioxidant-rich, mold and pesticide-free coffee shipped straight to your door. Learn more by adding @cardiologycoffee on Instagram and visiting cardiologycoffee.com. This podcast provides materials for information and educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. We encourage you to contact your physician for any of the health issues discussed here.